So now I'm going to add some local color into the sky. I'm mixing a blue. It's a little bit redder blue as as the top of the sky, and then as it moves towards the horizon, the sky gets a little bit less red, a bit of yellow. So I'm putting the same value in. I'm not changing the value, but I'm adding the local color. So I start the sky with warm colors, and then I add the local color to that first lay-in. So I'm going to kind of do that to all the colors, modify them, bring them closer to their local colors. So now, I'm adding a little bit of coolness to those clouds. I've added a little bit of green to those shadows of the clouds. Like the clouds also have form, light and shadow. So I've added a little bit of cool green to the shadow. Now I have a little bit of thick paint, so I'm using my palette knife to kind of scrape some of that paint. So now I'm mixing the green I'm going to put on top of that magenta. And I do add probably a little bit of reds and oranges sometimes. If I put it down and it's too cool, I might add a little bit of orange or red to it. And when I put it down, that's when I know what I should add to it. And when I'm using a brush, I load the brush so I can add paint on top of wet paint, and I'm not picking up the paint underneath. So that's part of what I'm telling students is they need to load their brushes when they're working on wet paint. So I'm probably picking a little bit of the color underneath, but not a lot. I'm adding on top of it. There I got a little bit darker. So now I'm adding a cool green back there. So that's going to stand back of that tree in the center. And I'm also thinking about light and shadow back there too. At some point I'm going to add maybe some light planes. And that's the scene. I'm not a slave to the scene. I use the scene as inspiration. And I've been painting for over 40 years on location, so I'm bringing to this scene what I know from all my years of experience painting on location.
There's that one. Yeah, I was worried.
So I'm adding a little bit of the local color, but it's not, it's got to stay back there so it's cooler than the light plane in the foreground trees. So now I'm modifying some of the greens back there. And filling in some of the white spaces. I probably won't do it all on location. After I get done on location, then I make changes in the studio. You know, re-examine the painting and then I sign it. And but I'm trying to keep the whole painting in mind as I'm making these changes. And I'm trying to paint the difference in all the different colors. So I'm trying not to repeat a color. So the background trees I've broken up into one color note for the shadow, one color note for the light. The same thing in the foreground trees. So if I repeat, like for instance a green, I'm going to make it more saturated or less saturated. Not to say that I can't repeat different greens, but I have to make a change in those colors when I use them and relate them to every other green in the painting. So if you look at that little bush on the right, look at the light planes much yellower than all the greenery in the background. That light part, so that makes that green go back because it's not as intense, not as saturated. So that's aerial. That's creating aerial perspective. And I'm also aware of where the light-dark patterns are, where the sun is, and the sun's coming from the left. So I'm aware of that also as I'm painting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So now I'm cooling this path a little bit. And I'm varying my brush stroke to make that maybe a little more interesting than it actually is from life. Even there I'm looking at light dark patterns. There's shadow and there's light. So I'm putting some cool green on that to make it a little bit different than the light plane of that tree, that bush on the right. think I'm going to stop. I have enough to either work on a little bit longer here. And by the way, this painting is in the California Gold Medal show right now.